Alright, so in the last episode, we did the pillows, the rim here from the bottom, and this painting. And this episode, we're gonna do a plant over here. We're gonna have a beautiful plant. Also, we're gonna do some lights hanging from the ceiling. And also upstairs, we're gonna have some lights to this wall because it's pretty empty right now. So let's start first modeling the light. I'll go to solid view and I'll select this floor, edit mode, and I'll select this top vertex from the corner, Shift S, cursor to selected, back in object mode, and over here I'm gonna create a sphere, Shift A, mesh, sphere. Let's bring this one a little down, S, I will say 0.3. Let's move it out of the way so we can see it clearly. Okay, now I will go in edit mode. I say 1 so I can see front view. And I go over here to X-ray and over here to this wireframe view. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna create a new material, and I will say here light metal. Let's say wall light, because we already have some lights over there. I don't want to get confused. So light metal, wall light metal, and now select the bottom part, this vertex, vertex select by the way, and click on this plus, assign, new, and say here wall light main. Now you can go back in solid mode, right click, shade smooth, and if you want to see how it looks, you go here to the material output, and if you change the metal to a darker color, this is how it should look. And at the bottom we're gonna have the light. We're gonna create the material for this in the next lesson. Now let's just focus on the modeling. So I'll press Ctrl Z to undo these changes that I just made, and back in solid view I go to this X-ray and wireframe. I select the top part. I will press E, S, and I press Shift Z to cancel the Z axis. So I just want to scale it a little bit, like this. Now I'll press S, Z, and move it up a little, like this. This is very good. Go in solid mode and disable this X-ray. Let's go over here to this object data properties, normals, auto smooth, and I'm in object mode. Let's select this object, Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A, mesh, cylinder, scale it down, a lot down, something like this, R, Y, 90, G, Z, G, X, and bring it over here. I'll say shade smooth and also select this auto smooth. Select this face, GX, and bring it something like this. Now let's extrude E and scale it with S and make it bigger. Something like this. Now let's extrude again, E, and move it to the left. This is gonna be the light from the upstairs. Okay, so for this one, I'll go over here and I'll choose wall light metal that we just created. This one, wall light metal. Okay, now select these two objects, Ctrl J, and let's move them in place. I'll select this wall, Shift S, cursor to selected, doesn't matter to match where it goes. Let's select our new object. Right click, origin to 3D cursor. Right click, geometry to origin, and it moved there. You can press the dot or the delete button to get closer. Let's make it smaller. Let's say 0.3. No, 0.5. Too big. Maybe 0.3 was good. So I scale it down on 0.3. R to rotate, Z to rotate on the Z axis and say -90. Let's bring it up. G, Z, G, X, G, Y. Like this. Shift D, X, and let's bring another one here. So we're gonna have some lights over there. Let's create the lights from the bottom over here. Let's select this floor again. Vertex select. I select this vertex from the corner. This one. Shift S, cursor to selected. Go back in object mode. And here, Shift A and create a sphere. This light is gonna be different. Alright? Go to front view. Let's move it out of the way. Front view, you go, pressing numpad 1. Okay? And we go here to wireframe and to X-ray. And go to edit mode. Select this bottom part. X vertices to delete the vertices from the bottom. Select this top part. E to extrude. Z to extrude on the Z axis. And we make it like this. And over here, I will deselect this X-ray. I will select this vertex from the middle with vertex select. Shift S, cursor to selected. Now back in object mode, you can go even in solid mode. I press Shift A, cylinder, S, and I cancel the Z axis. Shift Z, and bring it very down. And bring it down. Maybe it's too much. Again, I press S and Shift Z to cancel the Z axis. Like this. GZ. I go in edit mode. I take this top face. Make sure all the vertex are selected. GZ. And bring it a lot up. Something like this. Okay, now let's shade smooth both of them. And we can go here and select this. Okay, Ctrl J to join them. Go to material and choose that material that we created earlier with light, wool, light, metal. This one. Now let's move it in place. I will select the table. I'll click on the dot. And also I'll say Shift S, cursor to selected to move my cursor here. Now I go to my object, right click, origin to 3D cursor, right click, geometry to origin. It's very big, let's make it smaller. S and say 0.1. G, Z and move it up. G, Z. I want to put it down like this. Actually, I think I'll make it a bit smaller. S and say 0.6. Yes. G, Z. And duplicate it. And move it on the y-axis. I want 3 like this. And take this one. Shift D. Y. And move it over here. And actually, I think I want this one more down. Something like this. I go to edit mode. And bring this vertex only up. I have to go here to wireframe and X-ray. Select all these. G, Z. Let's see. To not go on the other side. Yes, it does. Yes, something like this. This looks very good now. So it's gonna have the same material as the metal over here. We're gonna create them together in the next lesson. Now we have one more thing to create, and that is the pot and the plant. We're gonna have here under the stairs because this area is very empty, and this area is also gonna show in the final render. So we need to cover this space, and we're gonna add here a beautiful plant. Let's create first the pot of the plant. So again, I select this floor, edit mode, I select this top vertex, shift S, cursor to selected, and let's say tab to go to a object mode. Let's add a sphere, shift A, mesh, UV sphere. I want this one to be pretty smooth, so I'll say here 64 on the segments, and on the rings I will say 32. Very good. Say smooth. Go in object mode and go over here to wireframe and X-ray selected. Say 1 to from front for front view. Let's get closer. Vertex select, and we select like this until this middle part and say delete vertices, and select this top row, E, Z, and move it up like this. I think until here is good. Now let's press E again. I will go to solid mode so I see what I'm doing and deselect this X-ray. So I say E, S. So I press E to extrude and S to scale and bring it inside. Maybe a little less. E to extrude on the Z axis. So I pressed Z again. I move it down. It doesn't have to be all the way down, because we have to make sure it doesn't go out of the pot, just to create this edge. Now let's go into object mode and let's create the ground with shift A, mesh plane, G, Z. With this plane selected, I'll add a modifier named subdivision surface. And over here on level viewport and render, I will choose 5 on both of them. Click on this arrow, apply, and now if you go to edit mode, you can see a lot of geometry. This is very good. This is what you need. So with this plane selected, I'll go to sculpting. I will choose this clay brush, and I'll just add some stuff around here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this is gonna be the ground. We just need some shapes. And I want the middle to be going down like this, because here is where the plant is gonna go. I hold Ctrl to get this down part, and if I normal click, it goes like this. Now I'll choose these clay strips, and again I'll do the same, and going down, holding Ctrl button. I think this is enough. Now go back to layout, right click, shape smooth. This looks very good. Bring it down, G, Z. Make sure it covers all the way around the plant. The pot, S, scale it up a bit, but make sure it doesn't go out like this. Let's go all the way around and make sure it doesn't go out. This is very good. Now let's create the support for this pot. Let's move it up with the ground. Actually, let's first add here material. So I selected the pot, and I will say here pot main. I select the ground and I say pot ground, and join them together and move them up, GZ, maybe a little more, GZ. Now let's click the support, shift A, cube, make it smaller, go in edit mode, select this face, say E, extrude it like this, E, extrude it a little more, so I need this edge to be here. I will select this face from the top, and I say E and bring it up. And also I will select this edge from the bottom and say E and move it down on the Z axis. Doesn't matter at all if they are equal or not. Okay. Go out in object mode, Control A, all transforms. Go here to modifier, add modifier, mirror. Let's right click, set origin to 3D cursor, and I want to mirror it on the Y axis, like this. Now let's apply this modifier. Shift D, cancel the movement, R, Z, 90. Let's join these two together now. Select both of them and say Ctrl J. Go to Material, New, and say Pot Support. Make it smaller. G, Z, and bring it up to meet with this pot. Doesn't matter if it goes like this a little inside. It's totally fine. Select both of them. Ctrl J. Bring them down. G, Z. Let's move them in place. First, let's scale it down pretty much. I will select these text. Shift S, cursor to selected. With this pot selected, right click, origin to 3D cursor. Right click, geometry to origin. G, Y, G, Z. And move it here on the ground. I feel the support is too big, so I go to edit mode and I will press L down in the support in each of them. All these legs, S, Z, and move them a little more down, something like this. Now I move it down on the ground. Very good, looks much better. Let's create now the plant. So I select this floor again. With vertex select, I select this corner. Shift S, cursor to selected. Back in object mode. And for this one, you're gonna need an add-on, a free add-on that comes with Blender. Alright? So go to Edit, Preference, and here you can see Add Curve Sapling Tree Gen. You need this one enabled. Alright? So check it out. So check this box. And now you can close this window. And now let's create a plant. I'll press Shift A and you can find it here on the curve. So not on the mesh. We go on the curve. And you can see here sapling tree gen. And it's not coming here. I forgot about this. This this add-on brings the plants and the trees in the center. So it is over here. If you click away, you have to do this again. So if I click like this, I lost these options and I have to delete it and create it again. Shift A. So if you click away, you have to do this all over again. So try your best to not click, else you have to repeat these steps again. Okay. So this tree is gonna become our plant. There are very few steps to do this. Here in the settings at the top, I have geometry and I will change it to branch splitting. I have here the levels. I'll change it to 1, like this, to be very naked. Now I will choose leaves, show leaves. Let's go back into branch splitting. Over here I will choose rotation 0 and split angle 90. And this is the plan that we're gonna use. If you want, you can change this more. It's up to you. But for me, I feel I like this way. Okay, so when you are happy with what you have, you can click away. I will click away now. And here you can choose the main part of this plant and also the leaves. So for the leaves, I will say here new material, plant leaves. For the main part, I'll add a new material called plant main. And I will select both of them. I have to go here to object, convert, mesh. Okay, and now I can press Ctrl J and they are together. Okay, now let's move them in the pot. So let's select the pot over here and say Shift S cursor to selected. Select the plant. Let's make it smaller first because it's gonna be very big. Even like this, I think it's very big. But we're gonna resize it once we place it. So right click, origin to 3D cursor, right click, geometry to origin. Now you can click the dot button to go to the plant. GZ. I want it bigger. GZ. Make sure it goes like this in the ground. And in the middle. Very good. Now you can rotate it so it faces the most beautiful part of this plant. It faces the scene, the camera. I mean. So now if we go here in material output, this will not have material, but we're gonna do that in the next lesson to add materials to all these objects. Actually, before that, I wanna do one more change to this spot because now I notice something that I don't like. Let's go back to object mode, select this spot, tab. I will select both these edges with alt click and shift alt click, G, Z, and move them down. Something like this. I want this ground to be noticeable. Okay, now let's go back to this material output. Yes, this looks much better. Much better. And the lights that we just created and everything we're gonna texture in the next lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye!